Hello and welcome to another episode of our Revelation series, Last Days Foretold. Today we shall be speaking on the subject of Armageddon. Is Armageddon a prophecy or old men's tales? In Filipino, we will say, is Armageddon kwentong barbero? To start, let us base our conversation on two series of verses in the book of Revelation. First, Revelation chapter 9, verses 14 to 16. Release the four angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates, and the four angels who had been prepared for the hour and day and month and year were released so that they would kill a third of mankind. The number of the armies of the horsemen was 200 million. I heard the number of them. Our next verse will be Revelation chapter 16, verse 16. Then they gathered the kings together to the place that in Hebrew is called Armageddon. Please keep your fingers on the pages of those verses as we just might go back to them every once in a while. Let us draw some thoughts or salient features from the verses we have read. First, a question. The biblical description carries a lot of stupidity. And here comes the question. Who dares fight God? The thought of it is really stupid. Can anyone really dare to fight God? Can anyone plan to fight God? Another information, an important information we need to bring into the discussion. The place of battle, popularly known as Megiddo. Actually, Megiddo was not mentioned. What was mentioned is Armageddon. The place of battle is Armageddon. But as theologians explain the verses and the place of battle, they point to a place in Israel called Megiddo as the place of this Armageddon. Let's look also at the weapons they carry. They are horsemen. The scenery is something like the battlefield in earlier days. So they carry swords and spears, of which if this Armageddon is projected to happen in the last days, and we might say in our days, modern days, the weapons mentioned would be the wrong weapons. Then we have a number, 200 million combatants, horsemen. That's a lot of combatants. And we will go back later in the discussion to address that number. Where will they come from? If there will be a source for such a number of men and horses. Then the language used, Armageddon. Of course, we know it's Greek, but Armageddon is not a literal place. There is no place called Armageddon. So the word Armageddon then is just a symbol. Actually, it means a meeting place. Okay. In Filipino slang, a kwentong barbero is a story told with exaggerated bravado, obviously made up and delivered with the storyteller's self-assured confidence. Think of someone claiming to have killed a lion or a bear with his bare hands. From that alone, you might say that's impossible. Well, that will be a good story, a good topic for another episode. As you know, there's a Bible story that portray that kind of battle, but it's not in Armageddon. Now, it's not true, we know, but it's told as if it really were. Applied to Armageddon, the term perfectly captures the absurdity of certain literal interpretations. Ancient writers imagining a literal final battle with horses, swords, and hundreds of millions of combatants, yet describing a world they could barely conceptualize. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, let us take a moment to step back from the drama, the fear, the doom-laden headlines, and ask a very simple question. Is Armageddon a prophecy or an old man's tale? Or in Tagalog, is it kwentong barbero? Yes, I said it. Kwentong Barbero. That wonderful Filipino phrase for a story told with confidence, with bravado, completely over the top, yet delivered as if it were gospel truth, especially because it came from the Bible. A story that borders on childish credulity, but Christians insist on taking it seriously, especially in times like these that there's war going on, and especially mentioning the location, Iran, Israel, and of course the US is there, which many believe is the Babylon of the last days. So, isn't that exactly what the book of Revelation offers to us? From our perspective, from our heard stories, from the pulpits and sermons, is it not the one expected to happen in the last days if we are indeed in the last days? Now, to be exegetical in a way, because that's our method of looking at the verses in the Bible, the stories in the Bible, to let the real picture come out using our common sense, of course. So let's look at the numbers. The verses say 200 million combatants. That's just on one side alone. The four horsemen who were bound and were released gathered combatants numbering 200 million, and they will wage war against the Lord. So, okay, we can probably say 200 million men because that's the scenario. And when the Lord comes, he will come with his angels riding on white horses. That's how the story unfolds. Now, do the math. 200 million coming from just one army. Where will those combatants come from? Especially if we consider the events prior to Armageddon. Of course, the story unfolds in such a way that we cannot really come up with the exact chronology of events. What will come ahead? The rapture, the falling away, or Armageddon? If the tribulation, if the falling away comes first, and there are already judgments that kills a lot of people, then where else would those 200 million combatants come from? Now, probably the people, the combatants, are the issue problem. But if they will be riding on horses, friends, let's use our common sense. Where will they get the horses? So, I ask, does anyone smell an old man's tale here? A kwentong barbero, as we say in Filipino? Now, let's look at the place. Of the so many books I have read when I was a pastor, and I didn't question then, the place projected to be the site of Armageddon, the battlefield, is a place called Megiddo in Israel. So, let's consider Megiddo so that we know where they will fight, if it is even possible, using our common sense, of course. Megiddo is a small valley, small, beautiful, historic, but limited in space. It's just about 7 hectares in area. For people who are from Baguio and Cordilleras, like me, and people who are from the Philippines who come to Baguio every now and then, as Baguio is the favorite tourist spot in the country. You know of Burnham Park. I would assume that. In comparison, Burnham Park is just 32 hectares. It is 25 hectares larger than Megiddo. And Megiddo again is just 7 hectares. Now picture this. Hundreds of millions of combatants, each accompanied by horses. Where are they supposed to stand? Where will they park their horses, or if they even have chariots, how much more? Just imagine how much water 200 million horses will drink at one time. Burnham Lake, the water in Burnham Lake may not even be enough. And yet, in our former days as innocent Christians, we didn't even look at that description. 200 million in Megiddo. Okay, they will gather there. It's Israel. Not knowing that Megiddo is just about 7 hectares in area. And if you will consider Burnham Lake is just about 2.5 hectares. So where will you put the 200 million combatants? Now, does the story begin really to sound like Kwentong Barbero? Or you still maintain it's a prophecy? Now, I am not here to discredit your faith, but I am here to reason like the deist that I am, using logic, using reason, using common sense to put real life into the story, to really make it believable. But if one information in the story makes it unbelievable, then I don't know. That's why they call Christianity is a blind faith. Although you don't see, you still believe. We are expected to suspend our reason to such a degree that the laws of physics, geography, and basic logistics go out the window. They vanish. All because it's in the Bible, and all because it is considered as a prophecy. Never mind your reason if you still have any. Then let's look at the weapons. Swords, spears, and ancient technology. Oh yes, in this age where even as we watch the news in Iran and Israel, the combatants don't even see each other. Rockets, missiles fly hundreds, thousands of miles away to kill their enemies. What do you need a sword for? If we have to stick to a literal interpretation of Revelation, there is no way that it can be fulfilled in these present times. You may spiritualize. Maybe you will say the swords or the arrows have become missiles. Well, you can do all that if you want, but then you are not interpreting, you are not understanding the verses exegetically. You throw away the rules of interpretation just so your explanation will fit what is in your mind. Imagine someone bringing a spear or a sword to fight a drone strike today. No way, my friend. Yet the prophecy assumes there are sufficient instruments for a war against God. That's right, a war against God, conducted with medieval weaponry in a tiny valley with an army whose numbers defy logic and history. A war against God? Do you have common sense? Do they have common sense? Now, if I have to ask, what kind of army is so foolish that it believes it can engage God in a battle? And if they even have an inkling of how God might appear on the battlefield, well, I shudder to think of the strategy that they will use, if there's any. Next, let's consider the term Armageddon. Armageddon, again, it's not an English word originally, it's Greek. Armageddon has a meaning. Consult Strong's Concordance. And Strong will say Armageddon is a symbolic word. And the meaning is rendezvous or a meeting place. A place where two parties or more can meet. A gathering, a battlefield where everything comes together. The true rendezvous, the place where Armageddon is fought, has never been physical. Strong's Concordance defines the word Armageddon as symbolic, metaphorical, and yes, fantastical. A gathering not of armies, but of something else. Because again, according to Mr. Strong, the place is symbolic. Now, as we continue, here is probably a place we must pause and appreciate the brilliance of the storyteller. the Barbero. He speaks with certainty. He dramatizes the ultimate war, the end of the world. Yet we know it was written for a world that could not possibly conceive of what the future would bring. Think of it, horses and swords against God, 200 million soldiers on one side in a tiny valley as the stage of their annihilation, a human army daring to challenge God. What stupidity! What an old man's tale. Kwentong Barbero. If this is not Kwentong Barbero, I don't know what it is. Again, I'm not here to discredit the Bible. The only thing I want to do is project common sense into the story. And yet, even after hundreds of years, from the time John wrote this, it's almost 2,000 years, Christians today expect Armageddon to happen literally. We are asked to fear, to prepare for it, to shape our lives around it. Let's speak plainly. There is no army in history or in imagination that could truly challenge God. No combination of numbers, weapons, or strategy that could succeed. And the very idea of trying, this is the height of human stupidity. To believe that Armageddon, as described, could occur in our modern world is, well, let's call it again what it is: foolishness, stupidity. Foolish because it ignores logistics, geography, and physics. Foolish because it misreads metaphor as military blueprint. Foolish because it elevates fear over reason, drama over understanding. So what do we do with the story? With this Kwentong Barbero? Well, we laugh, we smile, we reflect, we recognize it for what it is. A story written for a time past, dramatized for effect, but utterly incapable of guiding us in the present times. Armageddon is not waiting in Megiddo. God does not march into battle with swords and horses. And humanity, our modern, educated, technologically capable humanity, must not treat ancient metaphor as literal warning. The true battle, friends, is not against God. The true battle is against our own childish credulity, our willingness to fear stories over reason, our insistence that metaphor dictates reality. Let us listen to Paul's words when he said, "When I was a child, I spoke like a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things." Friends, what are you today? A man with childish thoughts, or a man who put away childish things already? If there is a final war, it is not in the heavens or in the plains of Megiddo or in Israel or in Iran, wherever. Yeah, we know there will be wars, but final war is our subject. Armageddon. If there will be a true Armageddon, it will not be localized in a small place. It will not even be in a place, physical. The final battle, raging since time immemorial, is in the human mind. And here, finally, we can win. Not with swords, not with armies, not with prophecy, not with Bible verses, but with reason, logic, and awareness. Because the modern world does not need a literal apocalypse. It needs a modern awakening, an awakening of the mind, the awakening of humanity into reason and logic. And that, my friends, is far more important than any Kwentong Barbero. So let's look at the real battlefield, our minds. The ancient writers themselves were pointing somewhere deeper, because even within the same tradition, biblical tradition, we find a different voice. In the words again of the Apostle Paul, in the Epistle of Ephesians, he has this to say: "Put on the whole armor of God." Ephesians 6 verses 11 to 13. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. Therefore, take up the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand on the evil day, and having done all, to stand. This is a battle that has been going on since time immemorial, involving every man, woman, and we can even say even children. The battle for the mind, reason, logic. Notice what is absent in this battle. There are no swords. There are no war horses. No gathering in one place to fight. Instead, we are given, again, metaphor. We are given the helmet of salvation, the breastplate of righteousness, the shield of faith, the sword of the Spirit. These are not weapons of physical war. They are qualities of the mind. This is the kind of battle we have to be involved with. And this is the kind of battle pantheism is involved in. Yes, pantheism leans on logic, on reason, not on make-believe stories. This is a battle not against nations, not against flesh and blood, not against some imaginary army preparing to fight God, but against ignorance, against fear, against deception, against childish thinking. And suddenly, if we take these words from Paul, Armageddon makes sense. Not as a future event, but as a present, ongoing reality. The battlefield is not Megiddo. It has always been in our thoughts, in our beliefs, in our religion, in our philosophies, in our capacity to discern truth from fiction. The armies are not nations. They are ideas, narratives, interpretations, and fictions paraded as doctrines or truths. And the outcome is not destruction, but awakening. So friends, beyond the Kwentong Barbero, where should we go? Armageddon as a literal war? Armageddon with impossible numbers, impossible logistics, impossible psychology? Or perhaps not literal future event in this modern age? We must be honest. The story as presented to us in the book of Revelation is Kwentong Barbero. Not for me to insult the past, but for us to outgrow such childish imaginations. And so, hopefully, now we come to a deeper realization. What if God, the divine, was never meant to stand opposite us, opposite humanity on a battlefield? What if God is meant to stand beside us to fight ignorance, to fight lies? In a pantheistic view, the universe is not separate from the divine. We are not separate from the divine. Reality, our reality itself, is the unfolding of that divine presence in us. We are not the enemies of God. God stands with us as humanity develops into its full potential designed by God. We are expressions of what God wants to develop in us. So the idea of humanity fighting God becomes not just unlikely, but unnecessary, even impossible, because the true journey with God is not confrontation, but realization, not war, but awakening, not Armageddon, but understanding. So let us lay down the imagined swords, dismiss the crowded valley of Megiddo, for the real battle is here. The real victory is when humanity finally awakens, not in fear of a coming war, but in awareness of the divine reality we have always been part of. Friends, welcome to the world of pantheism. And we ask you to join us again in our next episode. Please click the subscribe button, follow, and share so that others will also know. Let's put a stop to Kwentong Barberos in our churches. Let's go for reason. Let's go for logic. Let us go for truth. Thank you and God bless. Until next time.